Hi, everybody. Hope you can hear me, see me. I see some people are already there. Oh, Sam as well. Good old Sarah, George, and Laney. So great to see you guys. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Watched Sarah's in between trying to actually do some professional work yesterday, and I thought, what a brilliant format. So hope you don't mind, Sarah. I'm jumping on your bandwagon, and I'm gonna do a live stream because I find that's better. It's more interactive. It's much more visual. So, for those that don't know me, my name's Carl. I run the Primal Lifestyle website. If you're watching, give us a hi. Let us know where you are. The last live stream I did with Sarah and George and Dawn, it was amazing. We had people in Australia everywhere, so it was fabulous. Even my annoying brother appeared as well, so very good. So I did a quick calculation this afternoon. This is my 571st day on this particular lifestyle, which is equivalent of 81 weeks, which is 81 an interesting figure, and I'll say why. So 571 days ago, I was 127 kilos. I dug out all my old information. So for those that don't do kilos, that's 281 pounds or 20 stone 1 ounce. 1 pound, sorry, 20 stone 1 pound. So I'm now, as I weighed myself this morning, I'm 84 kilos, which is 185 pounds, which is 13 stone 3 pounds. So I had to write it down because I've never remember it. So I know you're in Somerset, George. Thank you very much, and thank you, Sarah in Guildford. So just hoping that other people watching will join in. Hi, Donna. Good to see you. We're starting our next fast. I'm going to talk about fast in a little while because Donna, I, and Sam are using January to really sort of experiment with fasting, and I've got some interesting results to discuss with you there. So just recapping again. So basically, to my surprise, I didn't really sort of realise it, but I've lost 43 kilos, which is 94, just over 94 pounds, or the equivalent of 6 stone 1 pound. Or was it 10 pounds? 6 stone 10 pounds. I can't even read my own writing. Hi, Teresa from Windsor. Yeah, so I see that as quite a success, but interestingly, when Sarah spoke yesterday, she talked about her why. George often talks about his why. So I sat down and I thought, right, let's have a new year. Let's have a fresh view of what was my why. So pretty much initially was health, my personal health. Like George, I was pre-diabetic. I was morbidly obese. I was having a very, very concerning high blood pressure, very stressed. Suffering from stress quite badly. I had a number of other issues, and I just found out I had skin cancer. So everything was going pretty shit at the time, if you want my French, ladies and gentlemen. The second why, and probably in the background, a why that's been on my mind for a long, long time for me was my father. My father, and I know we all see that from our own point of view, my father was the strongest man I knew. He was amazing. There was nothing he couldn't do. He was an incredibly intelligent guy, strong as an ox as well. He was an engineer, so he's very strong fella. He used to do some amazing things. Taught me a lot. I'm the youngest of 7 boys, and we weren't flush for money, but we had an absolutely outstanding upbringing, and I'd never want to change any of that. Sadly, he had a thrombosis in his late 40s. I think it was just before he turned 50. And that triggered, or apparently the shock of it, triggered diabetes. Now, just looking at the family history, my father was diabetic, my grandfather was diabetic, my great-grandfather was diabetic, and I believe my great-great-grandfather was diabetic. One of my brothers has done the whole family history tree bit, and we found all that. So it's always been in the back of my mind about diabetes. The lifestyle I was leading was heading me on one simple path towards diabetes. So that was a major, major concern. My father, when he got to about early 60s, his eyesight started going, which and that was because of the sugar build up and that in behind the eye. And typical my father becomes registered as 77% blind. He lost all his front vision. He very much had provisional vision only. Decided to do wood carving. And I will take some pictures and post up. I've got a couple of his wood carvings here. But that's the type of mentality he had. He loses his eyesight. He decides, I'm going to take up wood carving. And he done some magnificent pieces. If anyone knows Harwich at all, there's a very famous, it's the last Electric Palace type cinema, and there's a well, they actually did a bronze casting of the wood carving he did of that, and that's still standing up in that for history. So that's the guy was just amazing. But my fear was that I was going to go in the same way, and then to finish him off, really, he got dementia. And I think the dementia came on very much, especially now with the studies I've done and experiences I've had on this lifestyle. He went from, he used to have his own boat. We used to go, the kids and the boys and all that, we used to go trawling and things like that in at the weekends. And we honestly, we used to joke that we lived like paupers and ate like kings. I used to go to school and I'd swap a pheasant sandwich so I could have a bacon sandwich. We just ate fabulously well. He would call it wildfowl, and some people might call it poaching, but it's interpretation. So that all done, he ate really well. He was strong as an ox, and then he gets diabetes. They put him on the classic diabetic diets of no fats and all this sort of stuff. He obviously went on to insulin. And dementia came along, and within a very short period of time, shockingly short period of time, sadly, my brother had an annex at his house. Dad moved in with them because he couldn't remember hardly anything in terms of looking after his own welfare, especially after my mum died, who was pretty much his carer. And she died from a stroke. Again, someone else on a low-fat diet. Now, the good news is my mother died in 90. My father died, I think it was 94, might be 93. I can't remember exactly. So the DNA is good. So if I don't make it into the 90s, that's my own fault. I can't blame anyone else on that front. So, watching the deterioration of my father was heartbreaking. And when I used to give my brother some respite and stay and look after Dad, it was like living with a complete stranger. And quite often he thought I was someone else. I remember one time about 3:00 in the morning, I could hear some moving about downstairs. I went down. In the pitch black, my father managed to get dressed. He had put a shirt, a tie on, a jacket on, and he was looking for his bike because he was going to work. And when I explained to him, no, Dad, you're not at work anymore, and all this, he then, for some reason, thought I was the hotel manager and had a complaint about the hotel room, which was his bedroom, which was ironic. So I played along a bit with it, and I thought I'd just test my dad out, because afterwards I said, well, what about me tip? And he went, no chance there. So he didn't completely change. He kept some parts of him. So there's my why. Partly is my own health, the own direction I was going in, which is in a downward spiral, and obviously I didn't want to repeat the scenarios that my father's done. So over the last 571 days, what have I, apart from obviously the weight loss, sorry Sarah, apart from the weight loss, the other health benefits far outweigh the weight loss. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy I've lost the weight, but if I hadn't lost as much weight but I still got the health benefits, I'd still be an incredibly happy person. One of the biggest changes for me is I used to really struggle getting out of bed in the mornings. Not when I was younger. Sorry, jumping around here, but when I was younger, I did judo at a pretty senior level. I was very sporty. I played rugby for the local club. I used to do a lot of endurance things. I will do something about some of the crazy endurance things I did. as George points out, I did the London Marathon in a medieval suit of armour that was 35 kilos, which is ironic because I've lost double that now. So I could probably wear 2 suits of armours in theory. So I'll get to the messages in a minute, guys. But if anyone's got any questions or they want any sort of clarity, because one of the things I'm doing is I've decided that this subject needs much more credible information, and there are some absolutely brilliant YouTubers out there. So I've decided, and I've mentioned this last year, I'm currently pulling together the information so I can do a PhD around the carnivore subject, because there isn't anyone that covers it. I am having issues with finding a university that's prepared to go along with me, because when they find out the method I'm going, I get the usual, what we all face is this, oh, that's not healthy, you can't do that. And I'm saying, well, hang on a minute, you're going down the vegan side of it. I even once mentioned about, if you see Dr. Chafee, plants are trying to kill you, and they nearly asked me to leave the room. So that's an area that's been challenged. So I may have to go down the Open University side on that, because there's not a university that's prepared to put its name to this particular study, which is a real shame, but we're not giving up on that just yet. So there's that side of it. So before I talk about what I've been doing in 2005, I'm just going to quickly jump to the messages. Oh, there's a lot of you just talking of each other by the looks of it. What's George saying? I've eaten a lot of poached eggs and rabbits and pheasants. So obviously I've missed a comment further up there. I take it. So I'm going to run from here, because otherwise I'll just disappear in the messages. Hi, sorry, Sarah, misread. My dyslexia, I'm arguing with that. My high-fat grandmother was amazed of. So I've got the camera right in the way of the bloody messages. I'm such a numpty. So let's move that to the side slightly, and I can see it better. Right, my low-fat grandmother has dreadful dementia. Didn't recognise any of it. So exactly the point. I'm absolutely convinced. My dad he even appeared on Tomorrow's World twice. All right, he was such an intelligent guy. He was he worked with a company called Budward, that did some amazing, at the time, state of the art stuff. Incredibly intelligent guy, and then suddenly he couldn't remember how to do his shoelaces up, and I'm absolutely 100%. It's about diet. Now, this morning. Every morning since I've been on this diet, I get up between 5 and 6. I'm not as mad as Stewie, who's on the UK carnivore thing, who seems to be up about 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's out on a walk by the time I'm just getting up. The guy's brilliant. I hope you're on here, Stu. I know you said you were hoping to going to watch, so I hope you are on here. But yeah, I find I wake up fully refreshed, ready to go. So I do quite a bit of study between 5 and 7 in the morning. One, because my brain's very active. And I do find that this way of eating has just changed my whole lifestyle in terms of what I do. I still don't go to bed till gone 11, sometimes 12 o'clock at night, and then I'm waking at 5, fully refreshed. So I'm clearly sleeping much better. I don't snore, allegedly. Not that I ever did, but according to people, I did. Used to clear rooms, apparently. So there's that side of it. Sort of lost me trail of thought. Oh, so this morning I started watching. I'm a big follower of Dr. Kiltz. I follow his podcast, and Dr. Kiltz did an interview, and it was out this morning with the fantastic Kent Carnivore. Lee. Oh, sorry, I do apologise, Lee. I forgot his Copis, I think it is. I think it's his surname, but he's known as the King Carnivore on YouTube. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And if any of you are looking for hearing someone's story and how this way of eating has completely changed their lives, you want to watch that interview. That is absolutely brilliant. And Lee's story is amazing. He suffered from very serious issues in terms of in his digestive tract, to the point that he now has a stoma, and because of that, thank you, Lee Copus. Thank you, Sarah, much appreciated. So I do think that's a story worth watching. Obviously, Sarah was with me as well at the UK meetup with Healing Humanity, and there was some brilliant. There was Alex doing his story. And by the way, he's 66 now. You wouldn't know that. You would never tell you on his stream. That's a joke, Alex. Just joking if you're watching. Great story there. We had Lauren, who honestly nearly had us all in tears. Fantastic story. Lee's story. And then there was other people that are better known carnivores there as well. And Dr. Kiltz, was a real honour to meet Dr. Kiltz. What a man. What a man indeed. He is absolutely awe-inspiring. And I did make him laugh because I was talking to him and I said, my wife's convinced I'm having an affair with you the amount of time I spend on the phone watching you. So he thought that was really funny. So top bloke. So is there any question? Oh, got a QQ. Good point. Thank you, George. If you want to ask a question so I can spot it in the conversations, put a QQQ. So have you tried Exeter, my Elmer mate? So have I tried Exeter, or is it someone else you're talking to? So I'm a bit confused on that one, George. I've not following doing this all on your time. When I was doing live streams before, I had multiple people. They could do the talk and I could read the notes. And trying to do all this in one go is a bit of a juggling act, to say the least. Fasting. So Donna from the UK group put out a little message. Anyone interested in doing fasting in January? Now, I have done over the period of time unexpected intermittent fasting, because obviously when you've eaten a load of meat, you'll find you're not going to be so hungry for a period of time. So I was finding I was going 24, 36 hours sometimes in between meals. So I wasn't intentionally fasting, where Donna decided, and Sam joined us, and we set up a little mini WhatsApp group, and we started doing some fasting. Donna crazily was doing it while unwell. Sam has some family challenges as well, so it's quite stressful, and doing fasting when you're not used to doing it can be quite challenging. Fortunately for me, well, not fortunately, it sounds awful. My wife was very, very ill over Christmas. So she was supposed to go and see her parents. She's from former Soviet area. Father's Ukrainian, the mother's Russian. Don't ask. Complicated. So she wasn't able to travel when we originally attended, but she then went early in January once she was recovered. So it was easier for me because it's just me and young Donald here. Donald, do you want to come and say hello? He's the one that's making all the background noise. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Donald. Here's my partner in crime, Donald the Bulldog. Not my choice of name, I like to add as well, but, you know, he's something else. So you can answer some questions in a minute, Donald. He is my fellow carnivore. I must admit, when I started doing the fasting the first time around, the first week in January, and I was giving him some raw meat for his diet, I almost pushed him out of the way and got on my hands and knees and started eating out the bowl because it looked delicious. So we started fasting, and I've done it in blocks of 5 days. I found that 5 days is about the right sweet spot. So the first week I started doing the fasting, first 2 days went past in a breeze. So predominantly all I was drinking was water. Nice little link there. And I found by day 4, the beginning of the day 4, I started thinking about food again. And I was okay. And obviously the good thing about having a little group, and this is what I say, if you're going to do fasting, have people with you on it, because you can actually bounce off each other, and that gives you that little bit more incentive to carry on doing it. So I managed to get to day 5, but by the time I got to day 5, I ended up frying 5 eggs, and I did a little bit of bacon, and then I boiled another 6 eggs. And during the course of that day, I demolished all those eggs. Then I did another set of fasting, and I went another 5 days, slightly easier. Again, by day 4, in your mindset, I'm thinking about food. And I think that's my body telling me. I am intended on bringing Donald to the meet. Sorry, I've just saw a couple of messages here. Bring Donald to the meet up in August. All being well, I'm hoping to book. Well, I've kind of temporarily booked with Lauren one of her B&Bs, and she's allowing me to bring Donald. The only problem with Donald at a meetup, we may not have any meat left for ourselves because he'll eat the blinking lot. Got you now, George, and now got what you mean in terms of exit. No, I haven't. And if you've got a contact there, send it to me and I'll make contact to them. There are 3 other universities I'm currently in discussions with, but the first 2 I saw were like, oh, no, you can't do that. So do appreciate that. Sorry, just going to the comments. Sarah, yes, totally agree with you. Lauren's story was amazing. She was against all the odds. She, all the medical professions were telling her to do this, and they get pushing the drugs inside of it. And I mean, we talk about the NHS in crisis, right? Now, what I've learned on this diet, and one of the reasons I want to get, for example, a PhD, so I can then, with credibility, start talking to people and talk about that rather than just signing a prescription and giving someone a load of pills or a load of tablets, which is not working, right? Health is getting worse. It's not improving. We know the Ansel Keys situation. We know the low-fat diet came in the 60s, and then lo and behold, diabetes went up, heart conditions went up, dementia went up, and that now it's becoming more clear and obvious to carnivores here that high fat is actually good, not bad. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to talk. So if we could get someone that's obese, like today, Donald and I are out for walking. We went past a load of queue of cars, and there was 5 cars in this queue that we walked past. 4 of the cars had, I would say, morbidly obese people in the car. One of them was clearly just come from McDonald's because they were still drinking a Coke for a straw while they were sitting in the queue. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, how many of them have been put on statins? How many of them have been told to do low fat? When if they were able to change their diet, and if there was a way that we could, it must be cheaper to help subsidize these people in terms of helping them with their diet. I went up to Aldi yesterday and I bought 25% fat ground beef bits. It was £2.80 or whatever it is each. You look at a burger. I don't know. I don't go to McDonald's. I go to McDonald's with Inga occasionally, but what is a Big Mac now? It's what, 5-6 quid. So you'd get a kilo's worth of minced beef for the price of one Big Mac. And that's not including the fries and the drinks and all that. So people can't tell me it's too expensive. I don't agree it's too expensive. I just think if you've got a budget, there's ways of doing it. I get all my sparkling water from Aldi. I buy the packs of 4, and it's like £1.40 or something like that for a pack of it's 8 litres of water for £1.40. So, and that's it. And now, for example, because I think I missed it when I went on the second session of fasting, I've got an old bone that I've had in the freezer. I'm making some bone broth, so that will be ready by late tomorrow. So come Monday morning when I start my next 5-day fast, if I don't want water, I will make myself a bone broth tea. So it's basically some bone broth with hot water. Maybe add some salt in it if I want to, and that will be my drink for the day or the morning. It's got goodness in. It's got all the bits and pieces I need, and I'm pretty confident that's going to make the next week's fast go. So I'll keep you all posted on that front. So right, just going to go to some of the comments here. Yes, Donald is gorgeous, but I'm more gorgeous, I'd like to think. So 5 days is yeah, I agree with you, Donna. I think it's my sweet spot. I was toying with, do I push it to 7? But I just think that by day 4, my body is, well, subconsciously, I'm starting to think about, and the thing I've missed was eggs. That was the weirdest thing. That's why when I stopped the first fast, I had literally a bowl of eggs, really, fried and then boiled. I'm trying to perfect my poaching as well, because I do like a poached egg. So I do think the bone broth will just help me that little bit more. But I do think for me, 5 days is great, and the reason why Donna said it, obviously because I've got my skin cans back as well. And that's being done on Wednesday. So no worries there. It's all under control. They're taking it out on Wednesday. I'm hoping they might put some brains in to fill up the gap. I didn't know Exeter specialise in Dartford. That's really interesting. I will, George. I will do some research tomorrow and make contact to them next week. I hope you're all following George's channel. He's our latest YouTuber. Now, the other thing what I've done, because something that Sarah mentioned at the last live one that we did was when we were waiting for all the recording bit to go through, she mentioned about using the technology. So what I've done, I've downgraded my StreamYard. So this is the free version that I'm on, right? So if people want, now the good thing about StreamYard, you can either do a live stream like this, and it's very easy to set up, and you link it to your channel, so it's pushed out for your channel. I'm taking that most of you have seen the thumbnail, so I am going to do a bit of explain. Oh, sorry, that's my fault. I've got one of these smart, clever cameras. It's a good investment, but it's a bit of a pain because it's got a life of its own. But you can also record on StreamYard. You can do interviews with people, so you can invite someone, they connect to you, you can record it. And then what I tend to do, once I've recorded it and got the record, which I won't need to do a live stream, which is why I quite like this format. And that's why I sort of said to Sarah, if you don't mind, I'm going to give it a go, because I don't have to do editing after this. This is what it is. But if you have to edit, I use a software called Descript. The Carnivore Soldier gave me the tips about Descript, and Descript's brilliant because it takes out all in one click of a button. It automatically edits all the ums, ahs, oohs, and all that, so it makes it much more coherent, much better. You can do some other clever bits of editing if you want to, but that's the pretty much, and you can upload it straight to YouTube from there. You can add some bits. You can put an end music on or ending screen. You can put starting screens. You can do all various bits and pieces. So Descript's really good. And I do most of my thumbnails in Canva. And again, Canva you can have for free. It does limit a little bit. I actually do the paid version, but I'm like, the thumbnail I did for this one was done on the free version of Canva. So again, it's very easy to set up a YouTube channel. It's very easy to do a thumbnail, and there's templates there you can use as well. So while I'm talking about it, obviously this is personal opinion. None of my information can be classed as medical advice, and that's what I advise everybody that's got a YouTube channel to have some form of disclaimer on there, because otherwise you could potentially be at risk of your information being used and then you being blamed for giving wrong information. And then the other great thing with StreamYard, you've got the ability to flash up, please subscribe, because obviously you want more subscribers, the better the message you can get out. So, but that anyone doing YouTube, and I haven't seen it on yours yet, so I know yours is very different style, and I love your style, and I think it's very unique the way you do it, Sarah. The same with Dawn and George. But I do think that when you're talking about health things, to just cover yourself, you need to flash up a disclaimer like this. And if you want to do it through StreamYard, it's done in the banners part of the studio, and I may do a demonstration about that later to show people. So right, so I'm going to go back to the comments. I'm hoping there's some questions in here. So fasting's definitely the way to go for me, and I'm going to continue and the way it's going at the moment, I think I may continue it. And that's another thing, if you do fasting, you're not eating so much, therefore your budget's even cheaper. So I'm not doing it for budgetary purposes. I'm doing it really to monitor myself, and that's why I weighed myself this morning, because I haven't weighed myself for quite some time because I put the scales away. I think you can get too wrapped up in micro managing everything and doing the checks on your weight constantly and all that. So I'm just trying to get it. So I've got here Donald. So what's this? Donald looks like George a few years ago. No. No comment. That did make me laugh. Cancer increase. Right. So just touch on my skin cancer issue. There is a video I did on the original one, and you can't see it, but I had a melanoma here growing under the skin. Started off a skin cancer, turned into a melanoma. It was starting to, the roots of it was starting to try and penetrate my skull, and that was quite concerning. They took it out. There is on my TikTok, there's a pinned clip, and there is something else that I did on the YouTube channel. And I ended up with 15 stitches. And I was expecting to be able to audition as a pirate in Pirate of Penzance. However, because I was at the time having lots of bone broth, I'll get as close as I can to the camera, but believe it or not, there is a scar that goes across here, 15 stitches. But so I don't know if anyone can see it on that camera, but it's neon invisible. However, I did a blood test in December, and I did a report on that blood test, and my triglycerides had gone off the Richter scale, and my HDL was incredibly low against all the other ones I've done. All my other ones were showing where I expected it, and if you divide your triglycerides, I think it's your triglycerides divided by your HDL, you ideally want to be 1 or below, and I was between 0.7 and 0.9 regularly, and then suddenly I was 3.7, which is really concerning. And I couldn't fathom out, and I did a couple of clips about it because I couldn't work it out. I then did what I normally do. I grabbed a load of the papers that I had. I checked a load of YouTubers out. I did some research, and I discovered that when your body is fighting something, HDL is the main vehicle that the body uses to do the fighting, and it burns it up, and your triglycerides get slightly out of control. So I was thinking, I only had a pint at football. I can't really make that big a difference, and really couldn't fathom it out. Turns out it said that my body is likely fighting something. So I asked my lovely wife to, one area I couldn't check was my back. And lo and behold, there was some discoloration of my skin. It had been crusty. It was leaking slightly. So I quickly spoke to my GP, who immediately put me on to my specialist doctor. And she, by sheer chance, there was a cancellation, but they saw me that day. She immediately said, no problem, you're in on the 15th. I've got my surgery to do there. You're on the first one in on Wednesday morning. We'll have that out. But what she's now concerned about, she wants to recheck the old area just in case she hasn't removed it all completely, and that's triggered the secondary one. When I told someone the other day about, my skin cancer's popped back, oh, that's the diet you're on. That's the problem. It's the diet you're on. Your body can't fight it. Well, skin cancer is from. Look at my golden tan, everybody. Look how beautifully brown I'm not. Okay, I'm very freckly. My mother was Irish. So I should show you my shirt, really. Oh, it doesn't want to show. It's my Irish English top. It doesn't work because the bloody camera's monitoring me. Big brother. I used to play football with my mates, regularly without my shirt on. I used to get sunburnt to shit. I think one time my nickname with the guys in my road was Lobster, because that was the colour I used to go. So I suffered really badly from ignorance and sunburn. And my mother had skin cancer as well, because she used to work in the potato fields, and she was out in the hot summer picking the potatoes at the time. So that cancer is from my historic time, not now. Interestingly enough, she was surprised when she inspected the cancer how early it was, even though it was established on my skin. So therefore, the root had been established. But she was really surprised, and she was like, "Nope, we'll take that on the 15th, not a problem." And I do think that's because my way of eating, and that's why my triglycerides are out. So what I'm going to do on the 15th, I'm having it taken out. I'm going to maintain for the whole of January the fasting as well as strict. I find I favour mentally BBBE. So that's beef, bacon, butter and eggs is my staple of the diet. I have got an affinity to doing pork belly. I do like a pork belly in the air fryer, and it's high in fat. Although Donald and I do seem to fight over that, the little bugger. So I am finding that I'm going to be quite strict, and I think what I intention to do is probably by the 15th of February, just after Valentine's Day, for you lovers out there. I'm going to do another blood test, and I'm expecting, given it a month and sticking with this way of eating, that it will get back to the levels I was expecting to have. But in hindsight, doing that blood test then was a godsend, because I wouldn't have looked for something, and it would have had a period of time to develop further. So, because my wife wouldn't actually see it on my back. She doesn't ride me like a cowgirl. Sorry, rude. Sorry about that, everybody. That's a bit taking it too far. Right, so I'm going to go back to. It's brilliant seeing so many carnivores on here. It's fantastic. So no, Carl, Sunday after dinner. Yeah. I'm going to do my fast. So I play. I'm in a poker league on a Sunday evening. So I will be having my meal before I go to the poker league, and that will be the start. And because I don't want to get caught out and people eating their crisps and nuts and rubbish, I make sure I eat a pretty decent full meat meal on the Sunday evening. So even though I'm saying I'm starting on the Monday, it's really following my final meal, which would be about five-ish, because I've got to be at the poker for 7:00. So that's what I'm doing there. So what's this? I started, right, Sam, I started again. I think you definitely have the prime high fat before. Yeah, priming. Yes, very, very good point, Sam. Very, very good point. So what I've tried to explain to Sam, and I think Don already knows it, if you're going to do an extended fast, to make it successful, you need to prime. And when I say prime, you need to make sure your body stores have got the right stores. So what I did at the beginning of January, I had a bit of pork fat, but I was also eating a lot of animal fat, pretty much uncooked. But that was my personal choice. Some people don't like it, some do. But I would eat a lot of fat. I'd have a lot of eggs, again, because they're a good source of fat as well as all the other nutrients. And I was eating as fatty a piece of meat as I could get. What I did for this particular fast, I did a brisket in the slow cooker. I added, and what I tend to do when I have the brisket, which is absolutely delicious. Sorry, Don, I know you want me to send you some, but Donald's even got an eye on it at the moment, so I'm having to fight him off it. But I sliced the brisket, although it's quite, it's just beautiful. It just falls apart. And I have it with a load of butter. So I tend to eat butter like a piece of cheese with some brisket. The ends of the brisket, which is slightly more cooked, where it's a bit more solid, I was literally putting it like butter on toast. It was butter on brisket, basically. So I've really increased my fat intake. But interestingly enough, Sarah mentioned it on our previous live that fasting for women is very different from fasting for men. So that's why I'm really interested in doing it with Sam and Donna and seeing how their results will compare to mine. Now, I'm not going to take any notes, Donna, if you're the first week of you or Sam, because you both had other distractions. You weren't well, Donna. Sam, you had obviously with trying to prepare things and get other things sorted. But I think from now on, if we can compare notes going forward, I'd be really interested in seeing how the same period of fasting affects, a lady, as opposed to me being a male. So hopefully we'll get some interesting facts from that. And then if anyone else wants to join us on this and do it, it's easy to do. But please make sure you prime first. It's absolutely important. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up to fail. So what's all this? Count me in, continuous fasting, Carl. Yep. Well, I'm finding it surprisingly easy. It'd be interesting when my wife's back, which is back later on this week, because obviously I tend to cook for both of us, but I end up, because she's not carnivore, I'm working on her, but she's not carnivore. I tend to do 2 separate meals. So I cook her meal and I do my meal. I even have to use separate pans because she doesn't like the level of animal fat that I use in my cooking. So I tend to cook separately for her, or she, being former Soviet, loves McDonald's because that was the thing they used to dream about as children. So I will go to McDonald's with her, and I'll either just drink a bottle of water now that I'm on a fast, or previously I would order a double quarter pound, wherever it is, but I literally just eat the patties. I wouldn't have the bread or any of the toppings or any of the rubbish they put in with it. And I used to smother it in salt, and I'd eat that. But I'm quite comfortable sitting there with a bottle of water because I'm spending half the time looking around the room thinking, my God. And it's so tempting to want to say to people, have you tried carnivore? It will change your life. But, you can't force that onto people. So, all right. So just going down some of the comments, a lot of interaction. What was this about pork belly? Pork belly, delicious. I guess it, but not. I know it's not ruminant. But it's very high fat animal content, and that's what I like about it. So I tend to try and I put it in the air fryer standing up, so the skin gets nice and crisp because I do like the crackling and all that side of it. And then I will tend to see you, Sarah. I see you got to jump off. That's not a problem, Sarah. But I like the fat because I have the fat. Some people would probably cook it longer than I would. But I'm, as you're aware, do mix up with a bit of raw, and I find the undercooked fat on pork belly is absolutely delicious. So, so what's this, George? Poor Inga, what? Poor Inga, I think she has a friend in Laney, and she's getting a bit fed up with me talk. Inga's good because she knew me when I was unhealthy. Right, so Sarah's just jumping off there. So bye, Sarah. Thank you for joining. Anyhow, much appreciated. So I do think with regards to Inga, she's supportive of what I'm doing. She doesn't like the taste of the fat as much as I do. So when I cook a fried egg, I cook it either in tallow or I cook it in butter. I find the butter, if you have it too hot, browns it and makes it a bit, I think it makes the eggs a bit rubbery. I do love a boiled egg. I love a boiled egg, and I tend to boil probably a dozen at a time, and then I'll probably eat them during the course of a day. And Inga will eat the boiled eggs with me. But when I fry an egg, I have to fry her in evil oils, as I call it. And I do in a separate pan, and in my pan I have it with animal fat. Again, I'm getting more and more cooking the eggs less, so they're literally just forming. As a child, I used to hate an undercooked egg. I didn't like what they call the snotty bit on it. But now I'm quite enjoying it, and if I can keep the yolk as uncooked as possible, it is absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. So that's how I like my eggs. I have been hard boiling eggs. I'm now starting to soft boil them more and more because I'm trying to get it where I can have a runny yolk. One of the things I want to try is make a Scotch egg using a low cooked egg, covered obviously in meat, and then using the bacon, crispy bacon stuff, or pato, whatever it's called, as the outer coating. And I want to try and perfect that. So if I can perfect that, I will do a video and show that. I know a number of people did my carnivore cheesecake over Christmas. I also did a carnivore tiramisu, which was great. And actually other people, non-carnivores, really enjoyed that as well. Very good question, Lainey. Duck eggs. Unfortunately, I live in East Anglia, and it's very much chicken eggs only. If I go to duck eggs, it's going to the more upmarket supermarkets. And I don't really want to do a special. I would try duck eggs, but I like to buy most of mine. I buy mine from a local. Are they a farmer when they have chickens, or hatchery, or whatever they call it? But it's free range chickens. Regularly get double yolks from them. I always get the largest ones they do because I do like my yolks. But yeah, duck eggs I would have thought is great. I do like cooking in duck fat as well. So when I thought I was doing a Christmas dinner for Inga, she loves my roast potatoes, even though I don't eat them, and I do them in duck fat. So I bought a load of duck fat, but because she was ill, I never use it. So I started experimenting and cooking things in duck fat, and that's quite an interesting taste it generates. So it's something worth people to consider, because at the moment it's dirt cheap because the supermarkets bought loads of it in for Christmas, and they're now knocking it out cheap. So I think I saw a jar the other day for under £1 for duck fat, and that's superb. So that's just a little tip for people if you're interested. Are there any questions from people there? Is there any sort of interest? Because I'm quite happy to talk about any of the subjects. I've done quite a lot of study. I'm now currently looking at Crohn's, and I'm doing a bit of research around Crohn's. And that's why I was interested in listening to Lee's the Kent Carnivore story, because he didn't have Crohn's, but it was also a digestive issue that he had in his bowels. That obviously the high fiber diet really destroyed him on that front. And Crohn's, I know several people that have got Crohn's. Again, this is my personal views. Just cover myself there. This is my personal views. It's not actually any medical advice. But I am now starting to look a bit deeper into it because Ken Berry, Chafee, Paul Smith, and all them have all started talking about the Crohn's impact. And Suis, the South African guy who's I'm a fellow member of the Nutritional Network. So I got my certificate there, so I can now do nutritional advice. I wouldn't do it through my YouTube channel. I'll do it one-to-one. And they're all talking about Crohn's and about the issues that Crohn's and how you can basically, and I don't know if it's reverse Crohn's or you just take down the inflammation that people then class it as Crohn's or what. So I'm now starting to study that. So when I do my next live, which I'm hoping to do next weekend, I'll hopefully have more information around the Crohn's side of it and the other digestive issues and what carnivore can benefit. If there's any subjects, you want to know more about, I'm quite happy, because I'm trying to build up as much knowledge as possible to then go and research the subject in order to give you some feedback, because it all adds to my dissertation when I eventually get around to doing it. Although I've got a few ideas of the dissertation I want to do, I have to tie that in with a university, and that's why I'm currently hunting for a university. So are there any other questions from anybody? No, because if not, I'll wrap this one up. It was a bit of an experiment to see how I got on. Thank you all for joining me. It's been really great. Really appreciated it. Donald is now snoring under the table, so he's had enough. And the good thing, since I've got Donald on the raw meat, he has stopped farting as much, which is a great relief for my nostrils, I can assure you. So thank you all for watching on my pilot of doing live streams. I think I'm going to try and maintain this. I'm a bit worried I'm just waffling, so I'm probably going to do a more structured, not a script, but more information. So, sorry, what was that, George? Did I see you put something up here? Sorry, what's this? Okay, that's interesting. 80 years young. Well, we're all 80 years young. And that's the thing about it. I'm 59 in August, and I feel like I'm 39, even 29. Honestly, I can't believe how much fitter and better I've become. So Chafee's argument about we should all live to 120 plus, I think on this way of eating is actually realistic and incredible. So again, I'm going to look into that area as well, but there's not enough data at the moment out there. But after seeing the rancher with Kerry, she was 86 or whatever it was, and still actively as a rancher, and she was lifting poles that even Kerry couldn't carry, is just an amazing story. So I will still be doing one-to-one interviews, but I won't be doing as much. I want to do more fact-finding and reporting on that. Again, but I look to you guys for feedback. So if there's things you want to know about, things you want to hear about, then I'm more than happy to share those with you. So it's quite convenient. We're now coming up to exactly 50 minutes. I don't really want to drag it on any longer. So again, thank you very much. Sorry, Laney's put something in. Carnival spouses. Well, form your own group. Go and join the Salad Brigade. You want us men being better for you, then you have to take the consequences. Thank you, everyone, and good night. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I can fine-tune and improve the way I do live streaming going forward. Thank you and good night.